All right, before he gets mad at me, the scoreboard says green one because that was how I could make it fit. I cut but he's the green one. We have ODM the green one versus VM's Crabling. We are currently in the winners bracket of round one of the Warpstone Cup. Both these players have won their first best of three, and this is their second. So one of them will be leaving here 2-0, one win away from advancing to stage two, and one will be back to 1-1, joining me. Haha! Because I am also 1-1. For a little bit of context, both of these players, when they are in their prime, are some of the best in the world. The green one has gone very far in several tournaments, including Faction Wars and previous Vermin League playoffs. So he's done very well. I don't believe he's snagged like a Faction War win for himself or anything, so he hasn't quite gotten the gold medal, but green one has always been a very solid player. I just worry how much he's been playing recently. On the other side, very similar story, but previous. So Crabling was most active before green one really came to prominence. So I don't believe these two have ever been active at like the same time. One of the players could correct me, but my memory is that Crabling was huge before I even started streaming. And then green one's been really big while I've been streaming, but they didn't have crossover. Anyway, Crabling got to the finals of some of those ever-chosen events that CA hosted. So he was, doing well way back when like Felcon and Flying Taco and Tloxon Soothsayer were playing. So, two very good players, but I have the same concern for both of them. I don't know how much Crabling has been playing, and I don't know how much Green One has been playing recently. We'll see what form they're in, but certainly high skill ceilings for these players. Starting off for Crabling, we do have Warriors of Chaos, 4 Marauder Horsemen, Chaos Knights of Nurgle with Lances, plus Chaos Warhounds with Poison, Marauders, and Forsaken for a front line. We have a Zinch Caster of Metal with Final Transmutation, Skull of Catan, and the Plague of Rust. And then Valkia up in the sky with Spear Slopnir and Demon Shield. The other side for the Dark Elves of Green One to start this off. 3 Cold One Knights regular, 1 Cold One Dread Knight, 2 Dark Rider Peter crossbows, a whole bunch of Dread Spears and Bleak Swords, the Bloodrack Medusa ROR, the Siren Red Ruin, and Marathi, with Soul Stealer, Melkoths, and Doombolt. Now Valky is out here for a bit of poke, though she is the one getting poked as Marathi gets a double hit on her backside. Then Valkia turns and fights for a little bit. Marathi is going to back off, but overall a winning trade for the Dark Elves, and when Marathi has Soul Stealer, I mean, she's more willing to trade her HP with Valkyries. It's not as big of a deal. But Valkyria's harassment has stopped the Medusa from being able to get as much done as she would like. 2 Dark Riders taking the fight with the Marauder Horsemen for now. Melkoths plus the Wand of Crydon bound Doombolt doing a bit of damage, so far Crabling is taking a lot, as Valkia continues to pursue the Siren of the Ruin around the map. Like I said, she's accomplished her goal. Right, the Forsaken and Marauders got to the front line without getting pelted by the Medusa the whole time. But Green One's doing very well in this flank with the skirmish going quite in his favor. And now Golden Knights and Golden Dread Knights are surrounding Valkia. She'll have a hard time getting out of here, though I do worry. I suppose if you use a Skull of Catan Final Transmutation on this blob, it can separate out and then you kind of wasted it. You probably want to use it on Marathi, who has still taken a decent amount of damage from these Marauder Horsemen. In comes the Cavalry of Chaos, streaming straight through the Bleak Swords, again shutting down the Side Rev Ruin. She hasn't been able to do very much at all. But in the backfield, problems have arisen. 1 Skirmish Cav and a Dog are already run off. A Soul Stealer is going to hit this big old blob of Chaos. And that's going to be problematic, especially if the Siren layers down her Whale of Malice on top of it. That could be a lot of damage. Another Melkoths is out onto the Chaos Knights, and there's that Whale of Malice. Even more damage, though unfortunately for her, it only hits one of the Marauders. Didn't hit the Knights or the Dogs or the other Marauder. Valky has Demon Shield popped as she wades her way through all these Cold Knights, try to get to Marathi, who just takes off in front of her. Not taking damage for quite a while, gets in this guy. I have to imagine the Skull of Catan Final Transmutation is coming very soon. But for Green One, Blood Arc Medusa's gotten to safety. Dark Rider Pure Crossbows are both doing fine, and Murderous Prowess has just procced. Dark Elf frontline has seen better days for sure, and their heavy cav isn't exactly feeling the best. Some of them are fighting Chaos Knights of Nurgle. But overall, Dark Elf's doing fine as long as Marathi doesn't die in this gooning attempt here. Still surprised we haven't seen the Skull of Catan yet. It doesn't take that long to charge up the Winds of Magic to get the big Final Transmutation off. Maybe he's waiting for Marathi and the Siren to be in the same place, so at least he gets a bit of 2-for-1 value on that. Who knows? This big old blob fight going to the Warriors of Chaos is, of course, they have a million troops here to the one frickin' Coldwind Spear Rider that's trying to get something done. These Modern Horsemen are going to have a bad time. Crabling starts to back off, but he's getting chased by the Dark Rider Peter Crossbows. With Marathi's support and fire coming in from the Blood Black Medusa, these guys are just doomed. Nothing they can do about that. Balance of Power is slightly Dark Elf favored. I have to imagine when that Skull of Catan brutal overcasted Final Transmutation comes out, that'll swing the Balance of Power back towards the middle briefly, but we'll see if Marathi just heals it up. With that in mind, I wonder if they just use it on the Sign-Red Rune instead of Marathi, knowing that she's just going to Soul Steal her way to back to full health. Valkia and the caster both get with the Soul Stealer. Crabling is falling further and further behind, has to do something soon. And this Sorcerer really just sitting around with his Final Trans combo, not using it. Dark Elf Cavalry, proving superior, is securing a mobility advantage against the forces of Chaos. One of their Chaos Knights is shattered. The other one is just about to rout his... That Melkoth should do it, routing that thing off. And then a couple super wounded skirmish cav isn't enough to deter all these Coldwind Knights, Coldwind Dread Knights, and Repeater Crossbows. So with the Siren Ruin, Marathi, and cavalry advantage, the rest of this battle will just be the Warriors of Chaos getting kited on the map. But there at last is the Skull of Catan popped with the overcasted Final Translation. It's an undercast. 6 seconds left. The skull is also running out, so I suppose it is doing the damage it needs to do. It takes half HP off of Marathi, but it's not going to be enough to turn around how this game's going. Doombolt hits Valkia, and we do know that... oh! Demon Shield was not on cooldown. I swore she had just used it, but barely got it up in time to block the Doombolt. It's not going to change the outcome of this game, as Game 1 is a foregone conclusion. It does appear both players are still quite in form. A lot of little micro things going their way. It was a close game overall. I think the Dark Elves just showed why they're a meta roster and the Warriors of Chaos isn't super meta. Not that Warriors of Chaos are terrible, but just Dark Elves edging them out a little bit. TheGreenOne getting the cab advantage was pretty huge. Marathi got really nice value. Everything else kind of balanced out. Crabling, Valkia did fine. Caster did okay. Chaos Knights and Nurgle, moderate value, not great, but they just kind of were supposed to hold. The Forsaken and Marauder frontline did okay, but then they were just going to get kited. Alright, well, we load into game 2. We got to get TheGreenOne his point, and I am confused and alarmed. So the TheGreenOne is stealing the Strat Game special tech, Double Gorgon Jabberscythe. So that's fucked up. That's not cool. I'm joking. Okay, I love TheGreenOne, so I shouldn't joke because not everybody knows that. I am giving him shit, but also, that's not cool, dude. You can't steal from Strat Game like that. That's his tech. On the other side, Crabling in Elimination game, you know, it's a best of 3, so he's got his back against the wall. Elimination does have Slaanesh to try and get through. I shouldn't say Elimination, because that implies from the whole tournament. You know, it is match point between these two. For the Beastmen, a minimal frontline of Ungor Spearman herds, and then just a bunch of Centaurs. Centaurs is the ancient, Centaurs regular. I understand this. The Beastmen know they're going to rout to Slaanesh instantaneously, so why bother bringing a lot of infantry that Slaanesh is just going to rout and kill? So they brought very, very few. The Double Gorgon for anti-large, armor-piercing, good crowd clearing, honestly, and just really strong regen when they are in melee. Jabberscythe to clear out infantry with cycle charging, and then Bray Shaman with Melkoths and Pit of Shades. On the other side, for Slaanesh, we do have Chaos Furies, 3 of them post-demonic buffs. Hellstriders of Slaanesh, Exalted Keeper of Secrets with Pavane and Acquiescence. Then 2 Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh at a very strong frontline. Chaos Warriors, Princes of Perfection, Mirror Guard, and other Marauders with Spears. So Slaanesh is going to win the frontline. Might win the flanks. I don't know. It depends, because like 6 Centaurs is a hell of a thing to fight. But I do think the single entities definitely goes to the Beastmen. Double Gorgon, Jabber, plus a Caster Lord definitely beat the Exalted Keeper of Secrets. Centaurs are going to start taking a fight on the Chaos Furies of Slaanesh. And those Centaurs are going to tear her out. As they're getting rear charged and there's a giant demon in front of them, yeah, they're going to tear her out. So that is a free Centaur picked off by the Slaaneshis. But the central fight's going for the Beastmen. You see the Double Gorgon Jabber doing incredible work, even on the Princes of Perfection, who are like, ROR Spearmen are just getting rolled by these guys. The Mirror Guard also having a bad time. Some Centaurs of Tzeentch have run off into the distance. It looks like they're worried about getting pincered in by all these guys. So they just fucked off to the ends of the earth where they could guarantee no one would find them, and they'll come back later. Centaurs charging into the Furies now that they're on the ground, getting that big charge damage. Centaurs are both just really strong, but also Chaos Furies like to charge. They hate getting charged as they fall apart. Demonic Instability taking them out. Melkoth's trying to hurt another one, but in come the Furies. This time they should get the charge because they're flying in on them, but it looks like Crabling doesn't want to commit them. Realizes he has no one in the area that can really help out, so doesn't want to sacrifice just 2 more Furies to the Dark Gods. All 3 of the Ungor Spearman herds in dire straits. This one still has a lot of its HP, but seeing as how it's getting wrapped up by Chaos Warriors and Hell Scourges, I don't think it's exactly in a winning position. Pavane of Slaanesh going to rampage these Centaurs of Tzeentch back into the Chaos Furies and Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh to get rid of them, get a little bit of mobility pressure back for the forces of Slaanesh. Beastmen slightly ahead of the balance power, and I would tend to agree. As a big pit of shades is coming down, it looks like Slaanesh is trying to get out of it, but those Chaos Warriors are so slow. The Fury flag is down there. Most of the Furies are up in the sky. They mostly did dodge it. You can see their health bars aren't really moving with this pit of shades, so it didn't really catch them that much. It mostly caught the Chaos Warriors. But Demonic Instability catches all things. You can't dodge that, so both the Chaos Furies going down. Slaanesh is in a bad way. Meanwhile, they're getting a good little pick on some more Centaurs of Tzeentch. Not a bad target at all. 1,050 gold per. Centaurs of Tzeentch are a good target. Lightly armored, so the Hellstriders can get in there, but also the Princes of Perfection happen to be out and about at the same time. Crabling is securing a mobility advantage slowly but surely. We're down to 1 Centaur for the Beastmen in fighting shape. The other ones are, like, technically here, but fighting shape is doing a lot of work in that sentence. We have a half-health Jabberscythe. Sorry, some people get mad at me for that. Both Gorgons are full HP. And the caster is essentially full HP. And there we go. The last healthy Centaur is Fascination, Tier 3 army ability of Slaanesh rampaged in, plus the damage that's coming down from it. Unfortunately for Slaanesh, the Princes of Perfection are just about out of here, so they won't be able to do too much against the Centaurs, but the Fascination itself almost takes them down. I don't know how Slaanesh deals with this monster core, though. They do have 2 Skirmish Cav left, though both of them are running a little low on ammunition. And 2 Skirmish Cav low on ammo isn't enough DPS to kill double Gorgons. Hellstriders and Spears going to gang up in the last Centaurs. Looks like TheGreenOne threw them in just to get some kind of charge out of them, knowing that they would be run down or rampaged soon enough regardless. The Exalted Keeper of Secrets keeping her distance away from those Gorgons. But the Slaanesh army's just running out of gas, and that's a big problem. Because you can't avoid this forever. You're just going to have to get in here, but then you're fighting 4v1. Do have a bit of support, but it's support that will be quickly fading as the Jabber gets a side charge onto some spears. Looks like it is getting sniped out by the Keeper of Secrets right now. Seductive Glory is available for that Rampage. There it is. Rampage plus the minus, well, I shouldn't say plus minus. Minus 24 melee defense does make the Jabber very easy to hit as long as it doesn't get any crazy charge animations that take it to safety like that one. She's going to try and dive in there. The one Gorgon that wasn't rampaging coming over and getting a really nice charge attack onto the Keeper of Secrets, pushing her away and saving the Jabber for now. I'm getting a little concerned with just how much chaff Slaanesh still has left. There's still a lot of Chaos Warriors to go through, Jabberscythes to go through. But if Crabling gets a little lazy and overclumps, 1 big Pit of Shades could take out 2 infantry units for the price of 1, and that's going to be problematic. Because the only hope for Slaanesh now is just to draw this out and make each monster fight infantry 1v1, right? Because if you clump up, the charge attacks get multiple hits, the Jabberscythes, Mortis Engine, if your leadership is low, gets double effects, so yeah. There's a Pavane of Slaanesh rampaging it into the spears, hoping that it'll just stay wherever it lands and take a bunch of free damage. His Exalted Keeper of Secrets is starting to charge in. Gets 1 rear attack onto the Jabber, but then the Gorgon attacks it. Now the Jabber is back over this way. Double Gorgons, both on top of the Exalted Keeper. And she's going to stagger as she tries to get away. Unfortunately, the Rampage on the Jabber didn't do much. This is one of the reasons Jabbers are so great, is those attack animations where they just go floating through the sky like this thing's been doing all the time. Does a ton of damage on impact versus infantry, as we saw, but also, like, even when you're stuck just fighting someone, you still resist a lot of damage. Pit of Shades tries to catch out some of the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes. That felt a little over-optimistic. It got some decent damage onto these guys, but I don't know. Seductive Glory back into these Chaos Warriors with their Hell Scourges. Minus 24 melee defense, of course, bringing the Gorgons down to 11. And actually, more importantly, this Braciaman has 0 melee defense as he rampages deeper and deeper into Spears and Hell Scourges. And Crabling's doing a really good job of getting this Exalted Keeper in when the Rampages are out so that the Gorgons can't get attack orders onto her. Unfortunately, I mean, she is still taking damage every so often because of staggering and stuff, but I like the idea. He's just playing a faction that is generally considered to be bad, and, like, there's a reason people consider Slaanesh to be bad. We didn't all get together one day and just decide, you know what, fuck this faction, we're going to spread fake news about them being bad. No, we all consider them bad for a reason. They're overpriced, ineffective, and just kind of worse at their job than other things. Like, ooh, light armor mobility control. That sounds like Beastmen and Greenskins. Jabber is routing. The Gorgons are still in it. The only problem here for Slaanesh is the Jabber did its job. The infantry have just taken so much damage, I don't know how effective they're going to be. Is already one of the Spearman routes as I say that. We still have one healthy-ish Spearman, and it really depends on where the healing caps these Gorgons are. If they have a ton of healing left to get, then this shit's doomed. Jabber dies. Exalted Keeper lurks on the edges. Green one is down to 3 models versus 340. Here comes the Spearman. Good surround as well of the Great Beret Shaman, who continues to take some pokes, but there's that Pit of Shades we're worried about. And Crabling's not fast enough to pull out the healthy Spearman. That's what matters. He started to pull out the Mirror Guard, but honestly, the Spearman mattered more as they get completely cut down by the Pit of Shades. They can't Terror out because Slaanesh and ITP and yada yada, but that is the hopes of Slaanesh fading away. They can't win now. Like, they just can't. Everything's too low. Even without Terror outs, I mean, stuff naturally routes all the time, right? Gorgon's still rampaging through. There's no mortal man strong enough to stop them. Exalted Keeper's Secrets is 4,000 HP with that health bar right now. I saw that. You swung from way too far away, but whatever. The Gorgons have 10,000 apiece, and they're still healing. While they're rampage, she is going to go and kill off their lord. Actually, is that a way back into this game? I don't think so, but, like, Gorgons are wild animals. They don't have the craziest leadership. That one has a charging bonus and winning current combat. Oh, that was rough. Pavane Overcast onto one Gorgon as it charges in, and then Acquiescence Overcast, both of them dealing Overcast damage. And the Gorgon that's rampaging comes back to the fight anyway, because this is where the main fight is going down. Slaanesh is starting to rout, and they may be ITP, but they still have a leadership debuff when nearby allies are routing. And I don't see either of the Gorgon's heal caps, man. This is Dunzo. The rampaging Gorgon is following off a Spearman. And this Gorgon's taking a lot of damage. And I mentioned that leadership before, the wild animal leadership. It is below half and falling. There's the heal cap. And the Exalted Keeper's getting good damage down, but it is too late. Army losses will hit. And I think even if army losses hadn't hit, I do think Slaanesh was doomed. Crabling played the shit out of it, but after losing game 1, he probably should have just gone with a meta faction. But from what I understand, he just kind of plays whatever he wants. I don't know. He streams in Russian. So if you understand the Russian language, and if he's still actively streaming. I don't understand Russian, so I've never watched his stream. But I do know he is a player, just kind of plays whatever. So I get that. The double Gorgon Jabber attack is really strong. Really, really strong. And not having 4 skirmish cap. Yeah, look at that. 1,400 and 1,300 value for the 2 skirmish cap. Imagine if he had 4. But I'm not sure, because like I said, I haven't seen Crabling active in a while. And if he's playing in the Russian scene, maybe he hasn't run into double Gorgon Jabber, because anybody who plays strat game fucking knows this shit's coming. Anyway, good series from these two. 2-0 to GreenOne, but Crabling is very much still in the tournament. He is 1-1 now, same as me. I strongly suspect he'll get through to stage 2. So. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.